the 1950s, families managed one car, one income, and somehow still stretched every single dollar. Fast forward to today, and most of us have streaming bills, drive-through habits, and credit card balances that seem to never shrink. In the 1950s, many women weren't even allowed to open a bank account without a husband's signature. So they got creative, slipping a few dollars into a sewing box or hiding cash in a cookie tin. It wasn't just secret money, it was peace of mind. Compare that to today, when many of us feel like we're one unexpected bill away from panic. But what if that old school habit, having your own little cushion, could still change everything for women now? It's funny how money has changed over the decades. If you grew up hearing stories from your parents or your grandparents about the 1950s, you probably picture simpler times. Homemade meals, a big family, and a whole lot of making do. But behind that black and white picture was a set of money habits that most of us never learned. And honestly, they're exactly the kind of habits we could use today. Hi, my friend. If you're new here, my name is Sarah and I'm the owner of FrozenPennies.com. I'm a financial coach and the author of the international best-selling book, Fundamentally Frugal, link below. Today, we're going to explore 10 incredible money habits from the 1950s, what they meant back then, and how we can use them now to bring peace, control, and even joy back into our financial lives. Christmas Club savings accounts. Let me start with a little story. Picture this. It's late summer of 1954, and a young mom walks into her local bank with two little kids in tow. She's not there to withdraw money. She's there to deposit a few crisp dollar bills into something called a Christmas Club. She knows that by December, those tiny deposits will turn into a stack of cash, just for gifts, food, and family celebrations. No credit cards, no panic, no guilt, just a plan. Compare that to how many of us scramble every holiday season today, and it's clear we've lost something valuable. In the 1950s, Christmas clubs were all the rage. Families deposited a few dollars each week, and come December, they had a tidy little nest egg. It wasn't about interest rates or fancy apps. It was about discipline and purpose. Today, we can recreate this with sinking funds or automated savings accounts. Set up a smaller transfer every week for Christmas vacations or even back-to-school shopping. The lesson? Creating guardrails that help you save consistently so you're not scrambling or going into debt when those big expenses roll around. Because Christmas is coming, it's on the same day every single year. Now, when I was newly married, our credit union still had these Christmas Clubs accounts. It started in January and ran until the end of October, auto-withdrawing money from your savings every week into a special savings account. And you couldn't take it out unless you had a conversation with the bank as to why. Which brings me to another forgotten habit, housewives' hidden savings. Now, this one is fascinating because many women weren't legally allowed to open up accounts without a husband's signature. They created their own safety nets. A few dollars hidden in a sewing box, tucked inside of a cookie tin, or folded between fabric scraps. These little stashes gave women independence and security. Today, we don't need to hide money in the flour canister, but the principle is gold. Always, always, always have your own emergency cushion. Think about it. How many women today would feel less anxious if they had even a secret $200 stashed away just for emergencies? That tiny cushion can be the difference between panic and peace of mind. Make do and stretch everything. Post-war prosperity was real in the 1950s, but the memory of rationing and scarcity was fresh. Families sewed patches, turned flour sacks into dresses, and cooked meals that used every scrap. Leftover bread became pudding, chicken bones turned into broth, and worn-out clothes became cleaning rags. Today, we live in a throwaway culture, but going back to make do and stretch everything can save a shocking amount of money. That rip in your jeans? Mend it. Those limp veggies? Turn them into soup. Waste less, save more. That's the 1950s way. Meal planning with utility in mind. Kitchens looked very different in the 1950s. Stoves used more fuel, ovens took longer to heat, and people paid attention to energy costs. Women batch cooked to make the most of one oven cycle. Bread, pies, and casseroles all baked together. Today, we don't think twice about turning on the oven for a single frozen pizza, but batch cooking saves money, time, and energy. Planning a cooking day and making multiple meals in one go is a modern way to channel this old school wisdom. I actually love this idea. I use it all the time. The 1950s were full of stretch it out wisdom that honestly is the most powerful money habit we could relearn. Today, everything is disposable. Clothes, gadgets, even leftovers. But every time you toss something, you are basically throwing away cash. Here's a few tips. Tip number 1, the leftover strategy. In the 1950s, nothing went to waste. Bread heels turned into stuffing, bones into broth, and even wilted veggies into soups. Try a weekly leftover night where you reinvent odd and ends instead of letting them rot in the fridge. It can save $50 or more a week without anyone noticing. Tip 2, repair first. Replace later. Back then, families patched jeans, darned socks, and sharpened knives instead of running to the store. Today, learning a simple repair skill like sewing a button or fixing a zipper can save hundreds over a year. Even watching a 5-minute YouTube tutorial before replacing something can buy you extra months or years of use. And tip number 3, creative reuse. Flour sacks became dresses and coffee tins became storage. While we may not sew dresses out of bags today, we can still think creatively. Glass jars as pantry containers, gift bags reused for birthdays, and shredded paper as packing material. It's not just thrifty, it's eco-friendly. Stretching what you have doesn't feel restrictive once you reframe it. Instead of seeing it as cheap, think of it as resourceful. You're keeping money in your pocket while incorporating the value of what you already own. Bulk and cooperative buying. In the 1950s, neighbors often teamed up to buy food and household supplies in bulk, especially in rural areas where delivery was expensive. Sometimes churches organized co-ops where families pooled money to get better deals. Today we have Costco, and we have Sam's Club, and we have BJ's, but the spirit of cooperation is fading. Imagine splitting a giant bag of rice, a side of beef, or even a bulk pack of paper towels with your neighbor or best friend. You'll save money, waste less, and maybe even build stronger community ties. Mail order and installment plans. Sears catalogs were way more than shopping. They were lifelines. It was the Amazon of the 1950s. Families ordered clothing, furniture, even houses from a catalog, often using installment plans that let them pay over time. But here's the kicker. These plans encouraged saving first and paying responsibly, unlike today's endless swipe culture. We can borrow this habit by setting up modern layaway for ourselves. Decide what you want, save for it a little by little, and only buy when you've got the cash ready. It's slower, yeah, but also safer and smarter. Homemaking as financial management. In the 1950s, women were considered the CFOs of the home. They tracked every penny, stretched every dollar, and decided what appliances or furnishings were worth buying. Today, household management often feels scattered, but we can reclaim this mindset by being intentional. Use a budget notebook, track spending, and make financial choices with clarity. If you're looking for a free printable budget planner, I'll leave a link in the description below for mine. Now, homemaking wasn't just cooking and cleaning, it was economic strategy. Large families and self-sufficiency. Families were bigger in the 1950s, and services like takeout or daycare were rare. Women made meals from scratch, mixed up their own cleaning supplies, and even created home remedies. While we may not be raising 6 kids or boiling soap on the stove, the lesson is this: self-sufficiency saves money. Cooking at home, making a homemade cleaner, or repairing instead of replacing keeps cash in your pocket and teaches resilience. Community over consumption. In the 1950s, it was common to borrow, trade, or share. Need a cake pan? Borrow it. Need childcare? I bet a neighbor could help. Today we're more isolated, but the sense of community frugality is something we can bring back. Share tools, trade babysitting, swap clothes. It builds connection while saving money. One of the most underrated 1950s habits was community-based frugality. Back then, you didn't buy everything yourself. You borrowed, you shared, and you traded. That spirit created connection, and it cut costs. Today, we've drifted into an individual buy-it-all-yourself culture. But we can choose differently. A few tips. Tip 1, start a borrowing network. Tools, kitchen gadgets, even party supplies. Most of us buy these things for one-time use. Why not create a small circle of friends or neighbors who lend and borrow? Need a ladder twice a year? Borrow it. Have a pressure washer sitting in the garage? Offer it up. Tip 2, swap and share. Clothes swaps, toy swaps, and even book swaps are easy to organize and save everyone's money. In the 1950s, this happened naturally through neighborhoods and churches. Today, you can start small with a group text or a Facebook group. Trade skills. Don't just swap stuff, swap knowledge. Maybe your neighbor is great at car repair and you're great at baking. Trade a tune-up for a homemade pie. These trades build relationships and keep dollars from leaving your pocket. What's powerful here is that sharing shifts the focus from consumption to connection. You're not just saving money, you're building a safety net. And honestly, having a neighbor you can call at 9 p.m. when your sink is leaking is worth way more than another Amazon Prime order. Legal and social constraints as lessons. The 1950s weren't perfect, especially for women who faced restrictions on credit, property, and wages. But out of that came strategies and resilience, hidden savings, cooperative buying, and self-sufficiency. The lesson for us isn't to go back to restrictions, but to go forward with awareness. Financial independence, whether you're married, single, male, or female, is non-negotiable. Build systems that protect your security no matter what. When we look back at the 1950s, it's easy to romanticize the era. Poodle skirts, shiny Chevrolets, families gathered around black and white TVs, but the truth is, the financial landscape wasn't simple, especially for women. Many couldn't open a bank account, apply for credit, or even buy property without their husband or dad's signature. On paper, that sounds restrictive, and it was. But here's the fascinating part. Out of those limits came strategies of resilience that are still worth paying attention to. Independence matters no matter what. Women in the 1950s often created savings stashes because they didn't have formal access to money. Today, the law is in our side, but the principle remains. Always maintain your own financial footing. Whether you're married, single, or somewhere in between, carve out a little corner of independence. A separate savings account, your own credit card, or even just cash tucked aside gives you a sense of control and peace of mind. Build safety nets in layers. Back then, safety nets weren't offered by banks or apps. They were homegrown. Women had cash in cookie tins, neighbors they could lean on, and communities that shared resources. We can borrow that layered approach today. Keep a small cash cushion, build an emergency fund in the bank, and cultivate relationships you can rely on. Having multiple layers means you're less likely to be thrown off course by a single setback. Advocate for your own security. If the 1950s taught us anything else, to handle your money is risky. Maybe your partner manages the bills, or maybe you've let financial planning slide because it feels overwhelming. But financial independence isn't optional. It's essential. Know where the money is, understand how it's being spent, and make sure your future isn't riding solely on someone else's decisions. It's easy to forget how recently women gained the right to control their own money. For much of history, bank accounts, property, and credits were legally tied to men. Our mothers and grandmothers had to get creative with hidden stashes and community support just to maintain a sense of independence. 1839, Mississippi passed the first Married Women's Property Act, letting women own property separately from their husbands. 1848, New York allowed women to keep income and inheritance in their own names. 1960s, U.S., most women still needed a husband or father's signature to open a bank account. 1974, Equal Credit Opportunity Act. Women can apply for credit, mortgages, and loans without discrimination. The takeaway, our financial independence is very new in the grand scheme of things, and it's worth protecting with the same determination our grandmothers shown. The bottom line, the restrictions of the 1950s pushed women to be resourceful and protective of themselves. We don't need to go back to hiding bills in flour canisters, but we do need to carry forward the mindset. Protect yourself, prepare for the unexpected, and never hand over all of your financial power. The truth is, our grandparents weren't just frugal, they were resilient. They built systems of security without even realizing they were creating generational wisdom. And maybe, just maybe, if we bring a few of those habits back, we'll finally feel the financial peace we've been searching for. The 1950s weren't glamorous, but the money habits of the era built strength, community, and security. These old habits still have wisdom for us today. It's not about living in the past, it's about learning from it. So whether you start a digital Christmas club, stash a little cash for yourself, or split a Costco haul with your neighbor, you are honoring the past while creating a more secure future. And if this video spoke to you, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and watch this video next.